Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
I think I just won my taxes.
Yeah?
I just switched to H&R Block in about 1 minute. All I had to do was drag and drop last year's return into H&R Block, and bam, my information is automatically there.
So I don't have to go digging around for all my old papers to switch?
Nope.
Sounds like we just leveled up our tax game.
Switching to H&R Block is easy. Just drag and drop your last return. It's better with Block.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
You're muted.
Gaining Penguin Network, everyone. It is Robbie here with Snail on the evening here of February 11th, 2025. It is the third day of the Penguins Four Nations break. It is the evening of the Four Nations tournament, which is set to kick off tomorrow night in Montreal. Canada and Sweden hit the ice at 8 o'clock Eastern time to kick off that tournament. Sidney Crosby will play. He is good to go for Team Canada. After some questions, he will wear the C for the Canadian side. But before we jump in here to the mailbag questions, I am with Snail again here. Snail, how are things going out in Washington?
It's Bluebird Day, but just freezing outside. Beautiful looking out there, but cold. Yeah, it's nice though. It's kind of like an odd time of year. It's just kind of feels like we're just waiting for spring at this point. How are things out in Western PA?
They were good this morning, but now there is some snow coming down, and there's supposed to be some winter weather coming tomorrow as well. So it's been 2 days of kind of stacking on. We've been getting hit pretty hard the past couple weeks, especially with some ice. So hopefully that it's just snow, not ice. Snow is much easier to navigate in than
For sure.
a sheet of ice. Yeah, it's never good when I can look out the window and the power lines just have icicles hanging off of them.
No,
That's why I know it's bad. So, but other than that, Four Nations tomorrow night. Like I said, Crosby's playing. I know Snail's excited. I'm excited. Snail, if there's one thing you're most looking forward to for the Four Nations, what is it?
Ooh, man. Oddly, I'm super excited to watch Sid and the Canadians, our brothers to the north. Like, I for some reason, I'm just more enamored by that roster. I know the goaltending is questionable at best. I live in the States just like you and should be more excited for Matthews and the Kachuk brothers and just the insane defense pairings for the Americans. Yeah. But I think there's just something about McDavid, McKinnon, and Crosby all being on the same national roster that's just got me so fired up, man. That's what's got me really juiced about this Four Nations. What about you? What are you looking forward to most?
I'm looking forward to, like, the first time in my lifetime, the Americans being either outright favorites or at least co-favorites to win an international competition.
Hey, good point, man.
We look back at the the World Cup of Hockey in 2016. They took a very odd team to that, given what was available to them, and it did not perform well. We haven't really seen a full strength United States hockey team since the 2010 Olympics. Sorry, the 2014 Olympics in Russia. I'm just looking forward to this young generation that's been coming for years now finally getting the chance to put their skills on display, a little appetizer for the Olympics next year. And I'm really looking forward to being able to cheer for Jake Gensel again. I've missed Jake. I love Jake, but I'm really excited for the Americans to take this opportunity. And this has been building through World Juniors and World Championships and all the way to this level. So I'm really excited for the United States to get out there, and I'm really excited. Yeah, I mean, being able to if you give Team Canada a power play, you might as well just give them the goal and just hope that you can get it back on 5-on-5 because that roster is stacked as always. But I'm really excited for the Americans to get a look and see what they can do on this stage.
For sure. I was looking over that roster you just mentioned, the World Cup of Hockey 2016. Boy, what an interesting roster. Brandon Dubinsky was on that team. Who else did they have here? Justin Abdelkader, Patrick Kane, TJ Ogie, Pacioretty. I get it. David Backes, he was,
was Ryan Kessler on that team?
He was. Ryan Kessler. Wait, was he? Maybe he wasn't actually.
He might not have been at that point. Was Zach Parise on that team?
Yeah, Parise. I mean, Jack Johnson, Matt Niskanen, Zach Parise, JVR. Oh, Kessler was there. Ryan Suter, Derek Stepan, Kyle Palmieri, Blake Wheeler, Dustin Byfuglien. I mean, dude, these are like great players in their own right, but like they just didn't have. They've never had like the superstar power.
Who were the goalies?
Jonathan Quick, Ben Bishop, and Corey Schneider.
Okay,
Corey Schneider was like a good goaltender.
Oh yeah, the United States goaltending wise has been pretty good for a really long time now. Even going back to teams that didn't perform so well, you think Mike Richter is a Hall of Famer, and then even Ryan Miller at the top of his game was
Miller. That's all I think about.
John Quick's going to the Hall of Fame. Gibson was kind of great in the intermediary. I think he played in a couple World Championships, but I mean, Schneider was a great goalie. And now you have like Hellebuck and Ottinger, and I mean, Jeremy Swayman's your third goalie. You're doing pretty all right. So I'm really interested to see how much goaltending will be important because that is a huge advantage for the Americans against pretty much every team. So going to be very fun to see how that plays out in these games.
Yeah, I saw Jake Gensel's on a line with first line with Austin Matthews, and Jack Hughes moved over to the wing, which is just an insane.
Yeah,
that's a lot of firepower.
It is. It's gonna be really fun to watch.
So before we jump into the mailbag questions, I wanted to ask. You mentioned also the power play that Canada has. You might as well just give them the goal. Are you at all concerned that Sidney Crosby is going to experience what it's like to be on a power play with Cale Makar and Nate McKinnon at the same exact time? Not only them, but he's going to have Connor McDavid dish in.
Yeah.
And you just throw a 50 goal scored. What's his name? Reinhart. What's his first name? Sam Reinhart. Samson Reinhart. He's on there too. So are you worried at all Sid's going to experience a power play like that and maybe be like, check please in Pittsburgh?
I think he might just be like, you got to get me some of these guys into Pittsburgh.
That's a better one. I like that.
That's going to be an insane power play. Their second unit's probably just as crazy as their first. I mean, it's going to be nuts, and I'm really excited to see.
I mean, Mark Scheifele is a great player. He might not even get any. He might be a scratch in this tournament.
Yeah, that's some depth. That's some depth. And the United States won't have Quinn Hughes, but they fall back on a guy like Jake Sanderson. Great depth to have. Maybe not Quinn Hughes, but still a great player.
for sure. But anyways, with that, Robbie, you want to switch over to the mailbag here and get
Yep.
to some questions?
Absolutely.
This is a fun one, and this one, I'd be interesting to hear what your take is on this. And it is, what is
These
your
questions are all from Brian, by the way.
right? They're all from Brian. Thank you, Brian. Robbie, Brian asks, what is on your Mount Rushmore as far as bad FA signings, free agent signings? He has here listed Jack Johnson, Graves, Matt Hunwick, Scuderi the second time. He'd be remiss not to mention Antti Niemi. Seems to me we need to stay away from defensive help in free agency. God, I couldn't agree any more with that.
I'm going to put Zdeněk McCulloch on here.
This is what I was waiting for. I'm like, go back in time a little bit further.
McCulloch wasn't the worst signing. It just didn't work out in Pittsburgh. Paul Martin could have been on this list, but he completely turned his career around in Pittsburgh. So Paul Martin could have easily been on this list. Hunwick I actually thought was going to be a very helpful player, and it turned out that that didn't work out at all. The Johnson and Graves one, I think Graves is actually worse than Jack Johnson, to be honest. It's just a very bad deal there. The Niemi one lasted like 2 weeks, so that was a fun experiment that ended quickly. McCulloch definitely sits there for me. I think it's trades that stick out worse. I'm just trying to think of some deals here. No real deals that outside of the ones he mentioned, which we all have gone over and pillared many times throughout the years. But McCulloch stands out for me, and not because I didn't think he was a bad player. It just didn't work in Pittsburgh, and they had to trade him away after, I think, 2 seasons. It just didn't work out, unfortunately. Could have been a great defensive defenseman because he came with Paul Martin. Unfortunately, obviously it didn't work out. The best non-free agent signing they ever made was Zach Parise and Ryan Suter. Those
because they were close, weren't they?
They were in the mix. Yeah,
they were in the mix.
They could have fundamentally altered the franchise in the long term, but I'll throw McCulloch onto that list as well in there. But it's tough to argue with the ones that he did list because Johnson and Graves. Though Graves, I think, is just miles worse. I would put Nieto on here. It just has. I mean, Matt Nieto's he's been injured, and when he's on the ice, he's just not playing good hockey.
He's just kind of vanilla.
Yeah, very vanilla. Absolutely.
I just wanted to chime in that I think that, like, you go back to, like, let's just go back to, like, the Shiro years. You go back to the Jimmy Rutherford years. And then you have, you had the Hextall couple years there with Brian Burke, and now you've got Kyle Dubas. I think Kyle Dubas for me, takes the cake with the worst free agent signing so far. You sign because you walk Jari to free agency, right?
Yeah.
And he was put into a position where he needed to really fix a bunch of stuff that Hextall had kind of done. And you're at a very pivotal point in the franchise at this point with you're promising another push for the playoffs. You're promising another cup. I swear he said he had to have said it unless I just blew this out of proportion. But in multiple of his interviews and press conferences, Dubas said that he wanted to make another playoff push with this current core.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of work to do. Like I said, he had some heavy lifting to do, but it was fragile timing. And he made 2 signings, Jari, which I was never sold on. And he says, he defends himself by saying that was kind of the best option out there. And then he signed Ryan Graves, and both of those have really come back to bite the Penguins. And I don't think you could necessarily pin it all on those guys on why the Penguins are 26th in the league right now. But you can definitely, it's hard not to look at them. There's some blemishes right there on maybe why you aren't able to get Sid and the fellas some decent help. You weren't signing Ryan Graves to quarterback the power play and rack up points. You were were acquiring him to be a solid defenseman. Oddly enough, a lot like Jack Johnson, like just kind of the same. They were very similar signings. You're getting them to be good in the locker room, good off the wall and out, good, a good first pass, and be defensively sound. And they got paid a lot of money to do. They got paid a lot of money and did not do that at all. Jari's not even in the NHL. Actually, I think he technically just got called back up, but I think I think it was a paper transaction.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be playing with the Penguins anytime super soon. So, anyways, I would just want to.
¿Dónde están los $5 millones que me robaste?
Gloria tendrá que encontrar el dinero. Su vida y la de su hijo dependen de ello.
Hay que acorralar a la viuda.
¡Tengo mucho miedo, mamá!
El peor de los caminos será el único posible.
A mí no me importa ir a la cárcel con tal de salvar a mi hijo.
En la nueva superserie de Telemundo.
Esta mujer es clave. Que empiece la cacería.
La Jefa. Martes 18 de febrero a las 10:09 Centro. Por Telemundo.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
All right. I just wanted to kind of chime in that, like, the timing of the Dubas signings with Jari and Graves, I think, have hurt the Penguins worse than Scuderi the second time. Antti Niemi, like, that was not super hard to erase. These ones are going to impact the Penguins for probably, it's going to be tough to move on from those. So, you'd have to say Dubas might have the worst free agent signings the Penguins have had to deal with in the last, 10 years?
I agree with that. All right, moving on here, getting back to some international hockey talk here. Do you remember how you felt when Sid scored the golden goal? I don't think I've ever felt more conflicted in my life.
I was hyped. I was like, wow, he did it in Canada. Like, yeah, I just thought that was like so cool for Canada. And being in Seattle, the games were in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So like we were, I had people in my high school that like went to go watch the Olympics, like go watch hockey at the Olympics. And like, I just remember being like, good for them. Like, I honestly I had no bitter feelings about it whatsoever. I wasn't super tied, oddly enough. I don't know why, but like, I've never been super tied to the American team internationally, to be totally honest. I've kind of always been like a Canadian fan, almost quasi. Like, I kind of like watching what they do because they're so great. But that's personally how I felt. Robbie, I'd be curious to how you felt.
I was definitely, I'd say conflicted, but more or less, I was like, of course, it had to be that way. The comeback in that game by the Americans, obviously wanted to win, but it was more or less like, if there was one way for it to end, that is the most palatable. And it had to be Crosby in that situation in Canada. The Americans made an incredible run. They weren't even supposed to be in that position. They just kept fighting. Ryan Miller was on another planet in that tournament. And again, it's just a completely different American team now. It's really crazy to look back on that team, but Crosby and Crosby's still going, which is crazy. Like, that was 15. That's actually almost literally, it's getting close to the day that it was 15 years ago. So if you think about that, now he's getting ready for yet another international tournament. A lot of the guys that he's going to be playing with were just children when he scored that goal. So crazy to think about, makes you feel old, but it was more or less like it had to be Crosby. It was not saying it was scripted or anything, but if you were writing the script, that's how it was going to end. The next great Canadian player on home ice against the Americans, against a goalie that he tortured pretty much his entire career. It was basically just a shrug your shoulders. What are you going to do? The best player in the world beat you.
And it was dished to him by Iggy, who'd like been one of my favorite hockey players of all time at that point. Like him and Shanahan, I was like, man, epic. Good for them, I guess. But it's just so epic. It's kind of hard to hate on, right?
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Question number 3 from our pal Brian. Been a while since I've asked a good question, so what's your pick for the best sandwich? He's going to give his Mount Rushmore here, which, as I've learned now, are four options. There's 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore. He goes Philly cheesesteak at 1. I don't know if these are in order by any means. He didn't state.
Yeah.
So it's Philly cheesesteak, a BLT, which for those who don't know is a bacon, lettuce, and tomato, right?
Yep.
The chicken parm and a Reuben.
Yeah, Brian, I'm going to agree with you on the Philly cheesesteak. Definitely is on there. A good ham and turkey club with bacon I would throw on there as well. I'm going to go with a wrap at 3. I'm going to call that
Whoa.
No?
A wrap?
No?
That's a tortilla.
Okay.
You got to go sandwiches.
Okay, I'm going to go with, instead of a Reuben, it's actually called a Rachel. And it has all of the parts of a Reuben, except instead of corned beef, it's a sliced turkey and coleslaw with a little.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
With some sharp cheddar and a mayo and a little Thousand Island dressing. That's kind of like it gives you a little bit of a tang. Yeah, it's really good. And then so that's 3. What would be 4? Can I put burger on here?
No, it's a sandwich.
A sandwich.
It has to be like
peanut butter and jelly.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong. You stole one of mine.
I love I love peanut butter and jelly.
Classic. It'll never. That's like a peanut butter and jelly can be like in a pinch. It could be breakfast. It could be dessert if you're really if
maybe
you're in
the
that
most
mood.
versatile. It's probably the most versatile of the sandwiches.
Certainly lunch. I'm gonna go. God.
Maybe a snack.
So this is kind of like one of those weird things where, like, Robbie, you and I live on other sides of the country, and we both have different sandwich cultures where we're at. Seattle does not have the sandwich culture that, like, the East Coast has. Like, we don't really have, like, delis out here where you go in and you get, like, a fresh-made sandwich. It's just not here. Like, you guys have Wawa out there, don't you?
I'm a little too far west in Pennsylvania for Wawa, but there's one coming to State College here in the next, year, which is about an hour and 40 minutes from where I'm at.
Nice.
But I've been to a Wawa. I've been far enough out east that we've had them, and I will say, they definitely have a good reputation. They live up to it.
Well, like at Wawa, you can go in there and you can get a sandwich made for you, right?
Yeah, they do a made to order. Yep.
See, like out here, we have Subway, and we have those chain restaurants that do subs. I wouldn't personally waste my time at one of those. We used to have in Capitol Hill down in Seattle, it was a vegan Jewish deli. So like all the things of a Jewish deli, just you don't even have to ask if it's veganized, and you could get everything's made to order. It was amazing, but they ended up shutting down like a year ago. They had other locations in like San Diego and Portland, but we don't really have that good of stuff out here. So like, I'm always trying to like copy, like if I'm like really trying to go buy ingredients and go all out, I have to do it all myself and then look up recipes and stuff. I will say I've made a vegan Philly cheesesteak. I'd never had a Philly cheesesteak in my life probably until I was vegan. I don't know where you get one. Like where would you get one of those out here?
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
And I guess there's like different ways that like different parts of the East Coast. I made a Philly cheesesteak maybe a few weeks ago, and it was so good. That is a delicious sandwich. It's just like meat and it's just meat and cheese with like in mine I do a little bit of diced up like green and red pepper and grilled onions. And then I understand though, like out there, like don't you guys do like isn't a Philly cheesesteak, doesn't it have cheese whiz, not like actual slices of cheese?
I think like if you want a truly traditional one, it'll have cheese whiz, but most of the respectable ones use probably shredded provolone.
Okay, that makes sense because I've seen that. I know a skater from Philadelphia who does a lot of provolone on stuff out there.
Yeah. That's probably cheese whiz. I think it's more of a it's quick and easy, and I'm not sure it's necessarily even cheese whiz like you think of cheese whiz.
I
don't think it's necessarily even. It's just a coagulation of bad cheese type products.
Maybe
But,
not
like,
even real cheese.
Yes, probably not. But like most of your respectable, even your like mom and pop shops or your locally owned places definitely use provolone. Like if you
Okay.
wanted, a good cheesesteak, you would get one with provolone.
God, yeah. So Philly cheesesteaks are great, and veganized are the only ones I've ever had, but
Yeah.
I enjoy them all the same. So I guess for my Mount Rushmore, I'm going. First off is a Reuben. I'd also never had a Reuben until I was vegan either, and I've had multiple different ones from different establishments. That's just a phenomenal sandwich. Like a corned beef, the
Yeah, Reubens are
sauerkraut,
good.
that marbled bread. I don't know what it's even called. Is it rye?
Right. Yeah, rye is like the I mean, you do all different kinds because a lot of people don't like rye bread, but rye is like the standard.
It's that's I love that bread.
I love rye bread.
And then it's usually got some sort of like it's got a kind of strange sauce in there too. Reuben is my number one, so much so that like Riley and I, we named our kitten Reuben because of just the love in our families for Reubens. Two, I'm gonna have to go. I got to be honest with you. Like maybe that Philly cheesesteaks at 2.
Okay.
It's just such a dude. You don't really need much more after you eat a Philly cheesesteak.
No.
Like if you're having like a traditional sandwich, you might need some like fries or chips or something on the side and like maybe a pickle. A Philly cheesesteak, you can just dummy that and you're gonna be like good. You're gonna be set. Third, I'm gonna go, dude. Just a classic grilled cheese.
Honestly, grilled cheese would have. It popped in my head a little late, but grilled cheese, like just some bread and some good sliced cheese.
So I've learned this. There's 2 ways that grilled cheeses are made. One is you use a little butter, right, on the outsides to get that nice brown. I also have heard of like the true traditional way to do a grilled cheese is you use mayo on the outsides.
I use mayo.
Oh, you do? Okay, so I didn't learn about this until a couple of years ago.
Neither did I. I always use butter, and butter's fine, but for a good, even cook and a nice crisp and just a little bit of a taste, get a good mayo. Spread it. Doesn't gotta be thick, just enough to give it some moisture, and it browns so much. It doesn't burn as quick as butter does, so it browns a lot slower, and it's much easier to manage. Because butter, once it goes, like you can blacken something really quick. Or mayo, it seems to give you a little more room for error.
It does. So I'm gonna go grilled cheese, but done that way with the mayo. And then fourth, dude, I'm really struggling between picking the peanut butter and jelly because of its versatility and because I'll always love a peanut butter and jelly. But like, have you ever just had a classic club sandwich, almost like a BLT, maybe a little bit of avocado on there?
Club.
Yeah, club. God, dude, a good club sandwich with like a big pickle on the side.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
I think I'm gonna go that. I'm gonna go club sandwich with but it has to come with like the dill pickle spear.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a place we order from. It's probably about 10 minutes from my house.
Permanis?
No. It's a locally owned place, but they have a club that comes with some egg.
There you go.
Yeah, and then it comes with the dill pickle slice with it. So
sometimes it's the little garnishes like that really turn it into like a staple. You know what I mean?
I love a good dill pickle.
Oh, dude, me too. I've been actually eating pickles a lot lately. My family got some of those Grillo's pickles.
Yeah, they're fully vegan, right?
Pickles?
Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing they can put in them that would make them non-vegan.
No.
I
have yet to encounter that.
Do you like sweet pickles?
Dude, I love all of them. I like sweet gherkins. I like bread and butter chips. I'm
not
dill
a fan
pickles.
of bread and butter.
What? Really?
Nah, I'm not really. The sweet just it's just a little too much for me.
Yeah, like I can't sit there and eat a bunch of them, but I'll put a couple of those on a sandwich.
Yeah, I love dill is my favorite. Dill chips, dill spears.
Me too.
Dill, whatever.
Anything. Spicy dill, garlic dill, like all that. Yep. Do you ever get the pickles that have like the little pickled other veggies in them, like a pepper or a piece of garlic or something?
Yep.
Dude, I love pickled stuff. It's just the saltiest, best, and it always accompanies a sandwich so well.
Yeah.
I'm getting so hungry. I haven't eaten yet today. So
Yeah.
let's
All right.
move on.
Yep. Next question. This is from Brian as well, as they all are. He says, Snail, are we not Flow Bros no more?
Dude, the brothership is like always there for real. But
Yeah.
like, if you remember, Robbie, like Brian like came up with the term flow bro because we
Yeah.
both had like epic hair.
Yeah.
Like I had like long hair, like a full on
did.
mullet, and he has like insanely long hair as well. But like, I don't know if you can see it, dude. My hair's short right now.
It is.
So, like, as far as like the like the real like essence of like the brotherhood being our hair, like, dude, I just don't have the hair right now, but it's coming. Like, trust me, my hair grows pretty quick. By spring, I'd say probably by the time that the Penguins are officially declared dead and out of the playoffs, I'll probably be like creeping back into like that like true flow state.
Yeah.
But the brotherhood, dude, the love is always there, Brian. Like, dude, you know that's never going anywhere. We're bonded by hair and Pittsburgh hockey, and that's only one of those things is not forever, and that's the hair. The other one is forever.
The hair grows back.
The hair does grow back until it doesn't, which I have yet to encounter, and I hope I never have to. But yeah, hopefully the hair is also forever as well. All right. Moving on to another question from Flowbro Brian. He says, I think during this break, you should drop the solo pod that was recorded when Robbie was on vacation. Oh my God. Dude, Robbie, you got to put it out.
If you send it to me, I will put it out sometime during this break. If you send it to me, I'll just whip it up real fast, throw an edit out there, and we'll call it the lost episode or something like that.
I'll work on that tonight. I'll get it over to you tonight. So maybe by
shoot it.
tomorrow or the next day, Brian.
I'll
it'll
probably
be up.
plan it to go out Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
So we'll have something there for you. But once he gets it over, I'll schedule it, get it all tuned the way it needs to be, and we'll get it scheduled out there.
It's been too long. Brian's asked like 3 times, and I think
Yeah.
I've also had a question from another listener and on Twitter hit me up and asked me about it. One of the fellows from Europe. So I think they've waited long enough. It's got to come out.
Agreed. Oh, sorry. Brian asked, this is a trade, a little trade speculation here. He said, Mitch Marner, Morgan Riley for Rickard Rakell and Eric Carlson. No money retained, no picks involved. Who says no?
Oh my God, this is so funny because I know that Brian must have seen me tweet this at TSN. TSN has as much as I hate on them, like I also like can't not help but listen. They had a segment called Who Says No, and it's basically trade proposals for the trade deadline. And I threw out there, like you just read, I said Mitch Marner and Morgan Riley for Rakell and Carlson, but no money retained.
I mean, that's insane. That would be an insane trade. Like, that'd be so much money moving all over the place that I don't know. I mean,
Marner and Carlson wash themselves out money-wise.
They do. But again, Marner, I would need, I would need a deal agreed to.
A contract, like almost like a sign and trade.
Basically, yeah. Because Rakell would be going back with term. Morgan Riley, I think, is a perfectly fine defenseman. I think he is more than capable. I think he is. I don't want to say he's an all-star, but I think he's definitely better than anybody outside of Erik Karlsson in Pittsburgh. Even the way Crystal Tang's playing, I think that Morgan Riley is at least defensively is better, more responsible. Some hiccups here and there. Who says no? I think probably the Maple Leafs say no to that, just because they don't want to be saddled with that Karlsson contract. But man, no picks and no salary retained. Yeah, that would be an absolute monster deal. But yeah, my only thing would be Marner has to agree to a contract extension, like a sign and trade, or it's the pen is waiting for him when he lands in Pittsburgh. sign an extension. That's the only way that I feel comfortable with that, because you'd be giving up Raquel, who has term, for a guy who does not have term, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with that, because I think Raquel is staying in Pittsburgh for at least another year. So, if you give me Marner on a deal, I would definitely have to ponder that trade scenario.
I think that Morgan Riley, like, he's kind of fallen out of favor a little bit in Toronto. They always need a defenseman whipping boy up there. Dude, he can run a power play. He can quarterback a power play. He's a left shot. He's like not super old yet or anything like that. He's got some term left. I just think that I think he's an excellent defenseman, and it's just, get him out of Canada for a little bit, get him into Pittsburgh. I feel like, dude, he's he's a better Grizzly. He's like a little bit more defensively sound Grizzly. He's a little bit bigger, a little more durable. He can run a power play. And then I think he would pair well even with a guy like Letang. Like, I feel like he could fit in. He's a perfect second pairing puck mover. Like, he's probably better than what Oli Mata ever could have been. He's kind of like a Trevor Daley, but maybe not as physical. Just for some reference points, I think that'd work. Carlson, you get out from under that contract, and face it, Pittsburgh doesn't really want to be the type of team that lets Carlson, when he's at his best, the offense flows through him. He's not really the best when it's not just free flowing through him. Like, he's an adequate offensive defenseman. He can score you a goal here and there, but he's like a 100-point guy when, like, you really unchain him. And Sullivan's never going to let him do that. So I feel like we're wasting Carlson in Pittsburgh a little bit.
Yeah.
I want it to work with Carlson. Are you kidding me? Like, I think like next year, like, you never know what's going to happen with Letang and Malkin. I assume that they probably take more of a back seat in the future. Maybe Carlson will get more of an opportunity to really be like the guy offensively, especially on the back end at some point. But I thought about that trade and I'm like, dude, Marner, as much as he bugs me so bad and he's really blown it for the Leafs in the playoffs at times, he'll get you 100 points and get you to the playoffs. You know what I mean? He's one of the top 10 best wingers. Wingers, no shit, but like, I'd say he's like a top 5 winger in the league, point production wise.
Yeah.
Throw him on a line with Sid and just, I don't know. I think that could be magic. But again, I think the thing that I should have said in there, which you're absolutely right, Robbie, the only reason that anyone doesn't say no to that deal is if it's contingent on Marner being willing to sign here long term.
I agree with that.
And with that, we shall move on to our last question of the mailbag. Stole this from Snail. Had to hear his thinking behind it. Should we go after Noah Dobson? Noah Dobson fits the mold of what Dubas wants to add to the organization. Robbie, what do you think about the Islanders potentially moving off of a good young defenseman that a year or so ago he was like racking up the points? Where are you at with it?
He had 70 points a year ago.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, if you want to give me a guy that scored 70 points in 79 games, even if he is down a little bit this year, I would absolutely.
The Islanders are down. Like, who on that team is having a great year?
Brock Nelson. That's about it.
Team USA, Brock Nelson.
Team USA, Brock Nelson. But no, a Dobson, if you're looking to make a splash move and maybe stick it to a rival a little bit, Dobson, I think, is a more than capable player. He adds youth to that blue line. He's a good blue liner just in general. Even this year, I mean, he's still at 24 points in 46 games. He's under his pace for last year. But again, 70 points in 79 games is nothing to laugh at. He scored 13 goals twice. He had 60 assists last year. That's insane. Imagine putting him with a guy like a Crosby and some of these other talented players, Raquel and Rust, and some of these guys that can actually score, some of these young guys coming up as well. So if you can get him for a decent price, he literally just turned 25 years old. He's still young. Again, I'm not sure the Islanders would move off of him, and if it would take a trade, in an interdivision trade would be expensive, but he's the kind of guy that if you're looking for to get back into contention sooner rather than later, is a guy you have to take a look at, I think, because those kind of numbers don't just grow on trees. Even if it's not 70 points, even if he puts up 50 this year, that's still very good for a defenseman.
I was just looking up those stats are something else, but this year the Islanders power play is not good.
No.
They're just not they're not a great team right now. And as much as I'd love to pile on the Islanders, like they've been mid for a while and they had that one good run. And Dobson was a big part of that team's success like last year. Because they ended up making the playoffs. In this year, dude, they've got Tony DeAngelo on their first unit power play shooting pucks into his own net. Like, did you see that play?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. DeAngelo's back in the NHL, and he's just like he's the guy now on Long Island. I just don't know how that team doesn't have more patience for a guy like Dobson, who's just an excellent puck moving defense. Dude, 70 points is nothing to sniff at on a team that is so stingy offensively. Like, the Islanders don't just like pour it on offensively either. It's just wild to me. But what would it take to get a guy like Dobson, you think, out of Long Island?
Coming through, just factoring in the division aspect, again, it's Lou, so you have to kind of be careful. You don't know what Lou's ever going to try to pull on you as well. But I think it's going to be fairly expensive. I don't know what his deal is looking like, but I think that it would definitely be pricier than what you'd expect. But you never know. There's guys that can get fleeced. Kyle Dubas has made some pretty crafty trades, so maybe he could get him for a fair price. But I think the asking price would at least start high.
Yeah, you'd have to think. You're not going to get him for Puljujarvi in a second.
Yep.
Well, c'est la vie.
C'est la vie. Well, that is the end of the mailbag. 7 questions, all from Brian. I think that, if Snail sends me over that episode, I can get it ready to go for Thursday.
Yep.
And then maybe Thursday, Snail, do you want to meet back up and talk about the first 2 games of the Four Nations?
Hell yeah. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
So, that game, I believe, is at 8 o'clock my time, 5 o'clock your time on Thursday. That'll be the second, so we can just plan to talk after that and kind of recap the first 2 games, what we liked, how the teams are looking, the Penguins that are playing in it, and have some good hockey talk and give us something to do.
It's already been too long without a hockey game. Like I'm already like, God.
The Penguins are already on. This Tuesday. They're already 3 days removed from their last game, and they don't have a game until the 22nd. So we're gonna need something to talk about.
Oh my God! And then the trade deadline is like 2 weeks after that.
I believe it is exactly 2 weeks. It's the 7th, the Friday. So 13 days after the Penguins return to ice or action, they will be the trade deadline. So a lot to happen once the Penguins get back. But in the meantime, we'll talk Four Nations. Snail, do you have anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I don't. That is good questions, Brian. Thanks again, pal. Yep. Flow Bros for life. And also, dude, I was gonna say like maybe before the Four Nations, do we try to give some picks on who we think is taking home? Because wait, what's the trophy? Is there a trophy for this?
I would assume there's some kind of trophy.
Have they said like what? Is there a medal? Like, did they give some like? Because like I was gonna say like we got to pick a favorite.
Okay, they did unveil a trophy today. Why can I not? Oh, it is a large. I don't even know what to call it. It's just a very large
sheet over the Stanley Cup.
No, it's a very large chalice.
A chalice.
It's big. It's
nice.
Hefty. It is hefty.
I don't know. Well, let's just quickly before we hop off here. Who do you have taking home gold or whatever, the chalice?
I'm gonna be Homer. I'm going the United States, and I think what happens is they lose to Canada in the first game and they beat them in the championship.
I like that. I think that that's very probable. You know who I got winning it?
I'm gonna say Canada.
Nope, Sweden.
Oh, okay. Okay, who do they beat in the final?
Canada.
Okay. All right.
I think they're going to
Ricky
Eric
big tournament from Ricky Rax.
Dude, I think you might see, as they're calling him 67 instead of 87. They're calling him 67 now, and him and Carlson might garner a few. They might pique a few teams' interest after this tournament. That's what I'm predicting. I think Carlson is going to remind everybody what the 3-time Norris Trophy winner looks like when he's just out there galloping. And I think Ricard Raquel is going to just shove it right up there, what's, for leaving him off that list. And they don't have Markstrom in net anymore, though. That's just kind of dawned on me. But yeah, I think it's Sweden, and they're going to beat Canada.
All right, that's fair enough for me. I could see that absolutely plausible as well. But
I think Finland's in tough. I think that they have too many injuries. I think losing Heiskanen and Ristolainen and all those guys, I think that's too much.
Their first day of practice on Monday, they had 11 guys on the ice.
I know. Were they just not ready for that to happen yet, or
I think they were just that beat up that they just gave guys rest instead of putting.
They had to call a guy up from Ottawa. I think they called up a dude in the minors who played 16 NHL games, and he's on the Four Nations roster. So that's when you're in tough.
Yeah, but no. So I'm going to the United States. Snail says Sweden. We'll be back on Thursday to talk about the first set of round robin games. But Snail, if you don't have anything left, I'm going to wrap this up, and we will talk to you guys. You'll hear Snail's solo episode on Thursday. We'll have a recap up on Friday of the Four Nations. But until then, take it easy, everyone.